Spotify, AM 640, and YouTube. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. In the room where it happened. If you know Hamilton, you know that song, you know to what it's referring. But what if I told you about someone who was in the room where it happened and when it happened? The biggest story of the day, of a bunch of big stories right now at least, is Senator Alex Padilla of California and his forcible removal from the Roybal Conference Center room in which there was a press conference being given by Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Joining me on the show right now is Spectrum News' Joe Kwan, who was in the room where it happened and in the room when it happened. Joe Kwan, it's good to talk to you tonight.
Hey, Mo. Yeah, it was a wild, wild day, I would say. First, word that U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was going to be here, so we're all here in the room. She just started speaking for a few minutes, and then suddenly, and I'm holding a camera. It's a long story, but you have to go through a lot of screening when you go to the federal building, understandably so.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one at the corner of Veteran and Wilshire, just right off the 405, in case you don't know where it is or your audience doesn't know where it is. And so I was up there, rushed up there, ended up, having to hold the camera because my photog didn't quite make it in. And I hear a voice from the right side just a few minutes into the press conference go, I have a question. Then from my peripheral vision, I see somebody walking like assertively, I would say, not sauntering in, kind of in a relaxed pose, right? I have a question. And then suddenly you see 4 or 5 guys push Senator Alex Padilla, who I looked over, and I didn't know at first because, he was in a plain blue Navy jacket, not in a suit or anything. Not that senators always have to wear a suit, but he said, hands off. Then he said, I'm Senator Alex Padilla. And so when you have DHS, ICE, FBI, you're in the FBI, Los Angeles headquarters there, high security already. And I don't need to remind everybody, but when President Trump was a candidate at the time, there was an attempt on his life. So you would imagine that the level of security is probably even higher, and just being in the federal building. So, I think he could have came in and said, hi, I'm Alex Padilla, because I don't know that you can expect anybody on the administration, whether it's this administration, a past administration, to know the face of all the senators. And he led with, I have a question, and then, yeah.
Joe, let me jump in there because I want to provide some context. I agree with you. I wouldn't expect the Secretary of Homeland Security to know the face of all senators, but I would expect her to know the face of the senator in California. And also, Alex Padilla is the chair of the Subcommittee on Immigration, Citizenship, and Border Safety. That's an adjunct to Homeland Security. He is on the Subcommittee of Criminal Justice and Counterterrorism, an adjunct of Homeland Security. And he's also on the Subcommittee of Federal Courts, Oversight, Agency Action, and Federal Rights, obviously connected to immigration. I only put that out there because I've been in a number of federal facilities and courtrooms in federal buildings. And I know, and you've already touched upon it, the amount of security is tremendous. But for Alex Padilla to actually get in that room, not only was he escorted up, he was escorted in. I'm thinking he's a known quantity at that point. They're not just escorting random people in.
So what I was told by a source, two things. He did come out and talk to the media very briefly after saying that he did have a meeting in the building, semi-related, but not with knowledge of Noem and all that. I was told by a source that he was on a different floor, heard about the press conference, came up to it, and was able to walk in, again, sort of like assertively. And, I just think the approach was probably a bit maybe taken aback, especially just in the atmosphere of all the things that have been happening this week and just everything in general, to be honest. 2025 has been a year. And to be honest, being in that room, and, having been out at the protest, I don't know if I'm just on high alert, but hearing a man walk in and saying, I have a question. I didn't know what was going on. And to be honest, I was kind of scared because I wasn't able to look fully because I was holding a camera. And then I looked to the right and then through the crowd. And I heard him say, I'm Senator Alex Padilla. He was being dragged out and then handcuffed.
Let me ask you this, and I want to get a sense of other people in the room and their reactions to the best of your knowledge and that you could let us know. When I look at the video, it didn't seem like anyone was apprehensive or worried that this might have been a threat, especially not the FBI, whomever, because they were trying to get him out of the room. They weren't trying to jump on him in that moment. And I suspect that if he were perceived as a threat, they would have all jumped on him in that moment.
I think so. When he walked in, it didn't look like, I mean, just again, I wasn't looking. I just heard a voice. And again, I might be on high alert because just being on protests this week and all that, you got to watch your back, head on a swivel. But I mean, he walked in, probably took 5, 6 assertive steps. So the setup of the room was there were 2 rows of chairs. The podium was in the center in front of those 2 rows of chairs, and then all the cameras in the back of those 2 rows of chairs. So there wasn't a lot of distance from the entrance of the door to where the secretary was along with CBP, ICE, FBI. So there wasn't a lot of time for people to react or have any kind of reaction. But I can tell you 4 or 5 guys jumped on Alex Padilla real quick, pushed him on the wall. Because again, he didn't identify himself until he had said, I have a question. Then it was hands off. I am Senator Alex Padilla. That was sort of the order in which the words came out of the mouth. And everybody was looking at the secretary because she was in the middle of just starting to speak. So I don't know that we even had the time to react other than me just feeling a little bit, on edge. Did
Secretary Noem say anything in the moment? Did she acknowledge, like, yes, I recognize him, or
nope.
Agent
she
said nothing?
She paused for a moment because obviously there's a little bit of a disturbance. Then all the cameras kind of swung over there. But because I kept recording, you can hear, she continued talking, and then we all swung back. So she didn't acknowledge that until the Q&A portion of the press conference.
Joe Kwan, can I get you to hold over for one more segment? Because I know you did ask Secretary Noem a question. So I want to know what you asked her and then what was her response. If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking with Joe Kwan of Spectrum News. We're talking about what happened today between Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and also California Senator Alex Padilla. You haven't heard this anywhere else. We got an exclusive from someone who was in the room, where and when it happened. More with Joe Kwan in just a moment.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640 and YouTube. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. If you're just tuning in, we're speaking with Joe Kwan of Spectrum News. We're talking about the events earlier today in that federal building in which California Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed from the press conference of Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem. And Joe Kwan, let me bring you back into the conversation. You were not just a passive observer. You were also an active participant. You got in a question to Secretary Noem. First, what did you ask and how did she answer? Did she answer?
Yes, she did answer. I asked her because a lot of the stuff we've been hearing is, from both sides, from the Trump administration saying that they are going after the worst of the worst, violent criminals. You also hear from some other groups that say the people they're going after may include people without a criminal history. So I asked her to address that because that's the big question that everybody wants to know. How many have a criminal history? Who are these people? And of course, they have been releasing some of that information very actively on their X account. And, she did answer it. At first, she said, fake news, all that kind of stuff. But then said, within some of those criminals that we are taking in, there are some, she said, in her words, collateral. So people who've been living with them or around them, I don't know if she didn't specify if she was talking about family or things like that. And she said that those people obviously will have to vet them. And then she took that as an opportunity to also say that, as a reminder, entering this country is illegal, and we have to go through the process with the people who are those, quote, that she called collateral as well. So, I mean, this has been a question that's been ongoing, and kind of I would say, just hearing from protesters, the sort of impetus for causing some of the uprising, in addition to, obviously, there are those bad players as well within the protests doing certain things, burning cars and such that we've seen the last few days. But yeah, she did answer it.
Did Secretary Noem go into any detail as far as the types of practices or procedures, tactics which are being employed that people have had an issue with?
She didn't. She really stuck to the messaging that we have heard all along about why they're doing this, to help keep the streets of LA safe. No, she didn't get into the tactics, because maybe that's something that they're also trying to keep under wraps, right, as they do these type of enforcements, because she said they have been faced with I don't remember exact words, but talking about the response from the community, those people who want to do bad things, sort of, she said, attacking some of their officers and people trying to do their jobs in doing these raids.
Joe Kwan, I have been told, and I've seen in a number of news reports that, going back to Senator Padilla, that Secretary Noem and Senator Padilla did get together for some short 15-minute meeting after this incident. Have you been apprised as far as what was discussed in that meeting? Was there any type of conciliatory tone struck from either or both sides? What is the feeling coming away from that event overall today, from the best of your knowledge?
Well, during the Q&A, Secretary Noem did address that, saying that I'll have a conversation with him. He has, he didn't ask for a meeting. He didn't, reach out to us. But that she did say after the press conference, she had planned to go talk to him. So we knew some kind of conversation was going to happen. And he did walk out. He came to the podium where all the media was after, because we knew he was going to talk after. But he just read a statement. He did say that he had been trying to reach out to DHS to have a conversation about these immigration actions that are happening here. And he, I'm sure you've seen the quote or heard it, basically saying that if this is how they treat a sitting senator, imagine how they are treating some of the people who are being detained. And we all tried to ask questions, because obviously after that, you're going to want to hear from him, and what did you guys talk about? But he just wrapped it up and just walked away, like almost scurried away, because he didn't want to answer any questions. And yes, we all yelled questions, including myself, like, was it appropriate to yell? Everybody had the same question. And then, what did you talk about? He ran away. I would say objectively he sort of ran away, because he probably wasn't ready to talk about it, because he was visibly upset. I thought at one point when he was talking about, the treatment of a senator, and imagining how he said farm workers, and I forgot the other one that he listed. But as he was talking about how they were being, or imagine how they're being treated, his voice was cracking. I think he was very close to tears. So maybe he was just processing all that had happened. And I wanted to go back to one thing too. When he came out to talk to us after the incident, he said that he started out saying that, he had a question, and then he reminded us, telling us, like, the First Amendment allows us to protest. So because he wanted to come out and say that in the context of a protest, I feel like this whole thing was a form of protest for him, just because of the way he described it in his own words, this whole incident. So I don't know what to make of that, but I just wanted to mention that.
Very quickly, Joe Kwan, I'm out of time with you, but do we know if the secretary plans to stay in California for the duration, or is she just in and out for this press gathering?
I'm not sure. Right after that press gathering, she went down. There was a little lunch set up for the National Guard, spoke to them. I know she came in last night, but her plans as far as how long, I think they're probably keeping that under wraps too, for security purposes. But no, there was no word on if she had other things planned for the next couple of weeks, especially with all the No King stuff happening right this weekend.
That's true. Joe Kwan, Spectrum News, thank you so much for being available under such very short notice and being able to give us your firsthand account of what did happen as you were in the room as it happened.
No problem. Happy to do it anytime.
Talk soon. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're watching a lot of stories right now. We're getting notice of some police activity in San Pedro. There is a protest which has started in San Pedro near the 110 freeway. We also have news of a preemptive strike on Iran by Israel. We're watching that as well, and we're watching the more general protests around Southern California. So just keep it right here on KFI AM 640, and we will keep you in the know. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app. There's so much heavy news going on, from what's happening in the Middle East to what's happening right here in Southern California to what's happening in just the news in general. Let's just take a moment out to lighten it up, and let's talk about something that we all agree on. Tipping. It sucks. Let me give you some reference points here. Tipping has topped $78 billion in the U.S. $78 billion in a given year. That's how much we spend on tips. And I'm not talking about whether tips are earned or not, just the money spent. Now let's break it down by state. Here are the top 10 states in terms of percentage that people will tip on top of an order, like 10%, 15%. Who do you think is the biggest tipper by state? Let's find out. Let's see. Coming in at number 10. Maine. Maine people tip on average 8.18%. Coming in at number 9. Rhode Island at 8.54%. So they really don't tip a lot, but they're in the top 10. Number 8 of the top tippers by state. Nebraska. No real pattern emerging as of yet. Number 7 of the top tipping states in America. Vermont at 9.31%. Not even at 10%, even though they turn around that screen of shame and it starts at 18%. They're not falling for it. Coming in at number 6 of the top tipping states in the union. Mark the state of Washington at 9.51%.
That seems kind of cheap, doesn't it?
It is, but they're the most generous, all things considered, relatively speaking.
Oh, if you say so. This seems fishy to me.
It probably is, but who cares? Number 5. North Carolina at 9.75%.
North Carolina is more generous than Washington? I think not.
Number 4. Minnesota at 10.11%.
Well, you know what they say, Minnesota nice.
I guess so. I mean, there's probably not much to do except, have food delivered, because Minnesota's boring.
There's nothing there.
Number 3 of the top tipping states. South Carolina, average tip, 11.17%. Number 2. Not a state, but the District of Columbia comes in at number 2 at 12.65%.
They got some dough there.
Yeah, they do. They do. There are a lot of credit cards, there are a lot of business meals. It lends itself to a more generous tipper.
A lot of taxpayer funded tips, I might add.
Of course.
Yes.
A lot of write-offs. And coming in at number 1 of the most generous tipping state in all of America. New Hampshire. But get this, 16.07%. They just open up and just pour out change. 16%.
I'm calling this fake news.
It probably is, but it's good to discuss and argue about. Just in case, and here are the, this is, if I'm reading this correctly, in terms of money spent, the average per person spending annually on dining out. So this is the top 10 states spending money on eating out each year. And California's on this list. I'll do this one much quicker. Number 10. Don't go anywhere, Mark. State of Washington, $4,182.
Okay.
Per person per year. Number 9. New Hampshire. So not only is New Hampshire some of the best tippers, New Hampshire individually spends the most money eating out, $4,224 on average per person.
Do you think being the big primary state skews that?
I don't know.
It has to.
I've never been in New Hampshire. I don't have a real reference point.
Because once every few years, they get a massive influx of people with more money than brains.
Yeah, but you don't see that Iowa on this list.
That's all I got.
Okay. Number 8. I mean, I appreciate the logic, just couldn't follow it. Rhode Island, again, $4,412 per person.
It's the influence of the late H.P. Lovecraft. If you do not leave a proper tip, the elder god Cthulhu will have a problem with you.
Now think about this with number 7. The state of New York, $4,424. And you think everything is so much more expensive in New York. People, by then extension, would be paying more. And New York is definitely one of those eat out places.
Yeah, you would think they'd be higher on the list.
But they're not. Coming in at number 6. Colorado, $4,579 per person eating out.
Well, they became a legal cannabis state recently, so that goes to follow.
Money? Okay. There might be something to that, Mark, if I look at this list.
Logic you're okay with?
Well, I'm saying it follows.
Okay.
You know. And number 5. Massachusetts at $4,626 per person on average eating out. Coming in at number 4. California, $5,072 per year per person annually. And this is all according to Lending Tree. They know something about money. Coming in at number 3. And this one makes sense to me. Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
$6,628 per person.
And that's just for one meal.
Per year.
Oh.
Number 2, and this one makes sense on the strength of one city. Nevada, not to be confused with Nevada. If you say Nevada, someone will correct you. It's Nevada. $6,752 per person, obviously on the strength on buffets in Las Vegas.
Being drunk.
That too, yes. Coming in at number 1, the most money spent per person annually on dining out. Any guesses, anyone? Anyone?
I would have guessed New York, so I'm out.
Same. Yeah. New York was 7th. Mm-hmm. Swallow, any guesses?
Let's go and say Los Angeles.
Okay, that's a city.
Wait. Where are we at?
Fail.
Where are we at with this?
Never mind. Carnisha, you want to venture a state like Louisiana, maybe?
I would say Alabama.
On tipping?
No. This is money spent eating out. You want to join the show?
No. Look, I'm still focused on tipping, on eating out.
Yes, this is eating out.
It's almost like California.
We're number 4.
No, that's impossible.
Tuala, who did the show tonight? Because Tuala clearly didn't put it together.
No, look, I'm saying I think that's impossible for us to be number 4.
California's number 4. Hawaii's number 3. Nevada's number 2. And we're trying to figure out what number 1 is.
The suspense is killing me.
Me too.
Texas, you say?
No.
Texas? No. They're fat people, but they're not eating out like we are.
No, they just go out back and kill a steer and be done with it. No,
Yeah.
they don't.
They'll eat at home,
Yeah.
and they'll go to buffets, but they're not like eating out, spending big money. They'll go to Applebee's or some stuff like that.
Go out back and slaughter one of them beeves.
Where else do people eat out?
Number 1. The District of Columbia.
Okay.
Oh. You can accept that one, right, Mark?
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, it lines up with the previous list.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And no, I know DC's not a state, but, never mind. KFI 640.
No.
We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
Not foul. This is BS.
We're paying our elected representatives too much. That's the takeaway.
And YouTube. When we come back, we have a Costco update specifically for Mark Ronner.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640 is Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on Instagram. We're live on YouTube and the iHeartRadio app. And this next story is just for Mark Ronner and my wife. Just you two.
You don't go to Costco?
I go to Costco when I'm going with my wife and she needs me to help her out. I don't individually go to Costco.
And you do not avail yourself of the $1.50 Costco hot dog?
True story. My dad used to get them all the time. Whenever he would go to Costco every single day just to get those Costco hot dogs. And when he passed, not to get morbid, it's just, it always reminds me of him.
I was wondering where that was going.
So I just didn't have the same desire to have them anymore.
Okay, I'm glad it went in that direction.
Yeah.
And not in the, you don't know what's in hot dogs.
No.
Okay.
No. And so my wife, she'll usually go to Costco, usually on a Sunday, and she likes to get there early.
Oof.
Okay, because she wants to avoid the crowd. She doesn't listen to the show, so I just sent her a text message of this story. But, Mark, since you like to go to Costco and my wife likes to go to Costco, this is just for you. Executive members, the ones who have that $130 membership plan.
Oh, that's not me.
Okay.
I just have the proletariat plan,
the
whatever that is.
65 baseline one?
Gold star on it.
Yeah, the white trash plan, whatever it is.
That was Mark Runner. Mark Runner said that.
Self-describing.
I didn't say that. No, because invariably someone will say, "Why did you call Mark Runner that?" And it's like, no.
Why did you call Mark a white devil? Why?
That is also Mark Ronner.
That's Mark Runner.
That's also Mark
I do not condone, endorse, or am I even sympathetic with such language or sentiments.
Don't call Mark a
Migos.
cracker anymore. Don't do it.
Migos, this is all Mark.
It's all Mark. I'm not even going to laugh.
I can't believe you would talk that way.
I am not even going to in any way encourage that juvenile behavior.
Okay, I want to hear this Costco stuff.
Okay. Executive members, people who are not Mark Ronner, who pay $130 annually, will soon be able to shop 30 minutes to an hour earlier than the rest of the squids. The rest of the folks who are unable to pay the higher price.
The rest of the chuds.
Word. The shopping hours would be from 9 to 10 a.m. on weekdays and Sundays. In other words, that would be perfect for my wife. And on Saturday, it's only from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
So you've got to get up early to do it.
Yeah, my wife is a morning person. She gets up at like 5-something every day. So
Okay, so if you've been to Costco at the end of the day, you know that instead of some airport-like announcement over the PA system, they've actually got a live person in the back of the store shrieking at people to get out because the store is closing. They should just do that.
I've been there when the store was closing, and it's usually a young woman, maybe like 5'3", huge voice. And no, Mark is not exaggerating.
I know.
Yelling.
It reminds me of like herding sheep.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing basically.
Please get your final items and moved towards the front of the store to the nearest checkout line. And I took it personally because like she was standing right behind me.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I'm just following her as in my wife.
She's like the wall. Like once she walks past the aisle, you can't go past that anymore.
You can't, don't try to get behind her.
Nope.
No, it's almost like playing soccer. So no, that's offside. You can't get behind her.
Oh. It's so annoying that it's just like a step below them turning the hose on you to get the hell out. I'm serious.
It's just, one step below.
Don't they already have time for older folks to go in earlier than everyone else anyway?
That was during the pandemic, I think.
Oh, they got rid of that.
I was
about to say, like, Mark is already at the age.
Okay.
No. That's not a slight against you. I'm just saying.
Cut his mic.
We are
Cut
at
his
that
mic.
age.
Cut
We're at
both
that
of their
age.
mics.
Like when you are on the other side of that level of 50, you get in early.
I don't
He's not
need
claiming
that.
50. He's not claiming 50.
I don't need that.
Well, 60. I mean, you get in early.
I want you both suspended.
So if you pay $130, you are able to shop for 30 minutes to an hour earlier, weekdays and Sundays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. On Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Gold Star members like Mark will have to wait until the privileged people are done shopping. And it's set to begin June 30th. Okay? We have a caste system here in America. People don't want to talk about it, but it has to do with money. We definitely have a caste system. Everything is a tier. Everything. From our streaming platforms to our shopping to airline travel. Healthcare. And it's always, I'm actually being serious right now. And it's all related to money. You have more money. You have more access. Life is just better
and longer.
It's a caste system. And its only difference is you're not necessarily only relegated to where you were born. You could be born poor and eventually become rich. You could be rich and eventually become poor, depending how life goes. But it's a whole lot easier in America if you have more money. KFI AM 640, YouTube. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. More stimulating talk.